Jewish people consume human blood. Jewish people are the reason for all wars. Jews control banks and the media. These are only a small sample of lies and myths created about the Jewish community throughout history. Hitler used these lies to systematically target and kill 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. He created propaganda to demonize Jewish people and place blame for all the world's problems on them. But where did these ideas come from? Hitler drew inspiration for his final solution from the work of Francis Galton. Galton viewed the world as a place where a human's worth was determined by their physical characteristics, where people were categorized and valued based on their appearance. Still today, there are people attempting to use these ideas in eugenics to justify their discriminatory behavior. This begs the question, how is eugenics connected to modern-day racism? Eugenics is still connected to modern-day racism because people are still prejudiced towards immigrants, people still feel oppressed because of eugenics, and people of different religions or origins still feel as though they are treated differently because of the ideas and stereotypes created from eugenics.
But this is a chart that Harry Laughlin created when he was the expert eugenics agent for that congressional committee. What this chart purports to show is the relative social inadequacy of various immigrant races in the United States. What counts as social inadequacy? Well, according to the chart, that includes feeble-mindedness, insanity, crime, epilepsy, tuberculosis, blindness, deafness, deformity, and dependency. And then the chart ranks your likelihood of being any of those things or having any of those.
In the early 1880s, Francis Galton coined the term eugenics. Eugenics is the study of people's inheritable traits. Through eugenics, scientists were trying to make a quote-unquote pure America and human race by sterilizing people. Sterilization is taking away the ability to reproduce and have children. Eugenics doctors would take people and have them take an IQ test. If the IQ test didn't meet proper requirement, the person would be sterilized. This took a more racist turn in the early 1930s when people started rigging the tests and accusing immigrants and black people of being quote-unquote feeble-minded. Feeble-mindedness is considered a disability. Sometimes doctors would use random things to determine sterilization, such as crime rates or family traits. This played a great role and spread to Britain and Germany and inspired the Holocaust. All of the so-called quote-unquote science behind eugenics was phony. Over the 1900s, eugenics, over 60,000 people were sterilized without their consent. A study conducted by the state of Connecticut showed how many people were sterilized. It shows over 11,000 people were sterilized in Connecticut alone during the eugenics movement. Not only did doctors enforce eugenics, they also used positive eugenics, where they would use things like free healthcare or paying for child schools if the smarter people bred more kids and had more kids. The science behind it was phony because it was hard to back up. The eugenics movement is still felt today by many people, but predominantly people of other origins and religions. Although eugenics isn't there anymore, people of different religions and ethnicities other than American still feel as though they're being singled out and are not wanted in society. Some examples of this is how people of color are pushed into lower income areas in dangerous parts of the neighborhoods. Instead of helping them, they choose to gentrify the neighborhood they're living in and make it harder for them to live there. Another example of this is how Hispanics and Mexicans do the hardest jobs and get paid the least. There's nothing they can do about it because most of them came here illegally, and if they speak up about it, they can be imprisoned or deported. Another thing is if immigrants ever feel like they want to become citizens, it takes at least 5 years, and for many even longer. It also costs thousands of dollars. Cheyenne Gal, an immigrant that had to wait 19 years to get her full citizenship, explains, "There are a lot of misconceptions about how the immigration system works and what it really takes to get to that moment. Realistically, it's not logistically attainable for many people around the world." Quote, Although the eugenics movement is behind us, lots of people who were targeted in eugenics feel they are still being targeted today.
Who are fearful that a mother might be deported and not see her children, or you hear stories about young people who were brought here when they were 2, 3 years old, are as American as any of us in attitude and love of country, but don't have the right papers, and as a consequence, they can't apply for scholarships or they can't travel because they're fearful that it might mean they were deported. What you realize is that's not what America is about. So what we want is a system in which people are held accountable, a system in which those who've broken the law have to make some amends and get right with the law, but also we want a system that takes into account that there are good people out there who made a mistake but are very much our neighbors, our friends. Their kids play with our kids, and they love this country and they want to contribute to its success.
People still feel the effects of eugenics in many different ways. Lots of people don't realize how much this affects immigrants and people of other regions or backgrounds. Some of them simply don't care. Think of the immigrants who waited 10 plus years and spent thousands of dollars just to not even receive their citizenship. Think of Cheyenne Gal, who was quote-unquote illegal for 19 years before gaining citizenship. Before you say that it is in the past or it doesn't matter, think of the immigrants that struggle in society because they are singled out and othered just like they were in eugenics. Think of the Mexican kids on the border being held in horrible conditions, wrapped in tinfoil on the streets, just begging just to come to the US. Think of these people before you make comments about saying no one feels eugenics and eugenics is in the past and it's over.